Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This week I talk about IL&FS once again. The new development here is that I have received a letter from a whistleblower who says he's part of the senior audit team of Deloitte and IL&FS, who has been the statutory auditor for IL&FS for 10 years. In fact, they stepped down in 2018, just a little before Ravi Patsati, the founder of this group, stepped down after 25 long years. Now, an auditor can remain in place for 10 years. Deloitte IL&FS was the auditor for the group, but basically for IFIN, which is IL&FS Financial Services, for 10 years. And they stepped down because they had completed their term. In all these years, it has always had an absolutely clean audit report, no comments, nothing to worry anybody. Not even in the last year, where a couple of months after they stepped down, this whole group seems to have just crashed and crumbled, and the management had to be sacked. A new management was put in by the government, which is headed by Uday Kotak as chairman. Now, how and why did the auditor not find anything wrong? The whistleblower's letter explains what was going on inside. I need to look at this in detail because for the first time, we are hearing from the other side. We know that nothing was out there, the ratings were AAA, the RBI inspection report says they found a few things, but nothing really happened. We also know that there's a lot of dirt out in the open because the new management, government appointed management in IL&FS, asked for a forensic audit, started with IFIN, which is the company that Deloitte was auditing, and this company in what is called Project Icarus, I've done a whole video about it earlier. They have talked about the scandalous goings on, mismanagement, false reporting, how loans were round-tripped, loans were given to companies in order to evergreen previous loans, so loans were paid back and given on the same day. There's a wealth of mischief that's been documented. This was after just 1 month of work. Now, what does our whistleblower tell us? He says the extent of the scam, in fact, I'm going to read bits and pieces of what the letter has said. He says the extent of the scam is mind-boggling, and he hopes that the investigation agencies would question members of the senior audit team, he apparently is one of them, so that during a formal questioning, they are able to say what was going on inside. Will they do it? I don't know. I've sent a copy of the whistleblower's letter to Mr. Uday Kotak as chairman. I've sent it to someone from the SFIO. It's been 5 days and there's complete silence. But let's look at what this whistleblower is saying. He says that this company had a close nexus. Obviously, they say there's a saying that follow the money and you have the answers. So here again, what the whistleblower is saying in a sense is that Deloitte was rewarded. And in IL&FS has grown exponentially. He calls it unmitigated growth. It has grown exponentially in the last 10 years, and Deloitte's fees and income has grown simultaneously along with it. So what are the many ways in which Deloitte helped to hush things up in IL&FS? Now let me read a few things out to you. He says Deloitte obviously was a preferred partner, a beneficiary, because it was appointed as a preferred advisor on a single sourced basis. That means no competition. Things went to Deloitte at a very high fee. This is one. When the audit findings were such that it didn't show IL&FS in a favorable light, first of all, there was an internal censorship mechanism that worked at Deloitte. Even after that, if they felt that some things had to be put in the audit report, then one senior partner was designated to hold meetings with IL&FS, have discussions. These meetings were not minuted, and the management explanation was passed on as acceptable by the audit firm. This is not what the audit firm should be doing. In fact, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has already started an investigation. Its interim report has indicted several of the top marquee auditors who have handled IL&FS group companies. Right? So there is an investigation. They should not have done this. Now, why were they doing this? Why were management explanations and comfort letters which compromised the auditor's independent opinion? Why was it accepted? Obviously, like I said again, money, money and money. In addition to watering down views, what this did over a period of time is what the whistleblower says made Deloitte susceptible to legacy positions and compounded the financial misreporting. What does this mean? It means that having taken a position in 1 year, having accepted the management's version in that year, if that much the same mistake is repeated the next year, or it's that much worse, if it is even egregious, having taken a stand and accepted a position in an earlier year, you can't change your mind later. So these are legacy positions that got built, which again compromise the auditor's integrity, right? That's not all. What happened, he says, is there was one senior partner that was designated to handle now audit fees can't go off the charts. So they had to be rewarded in some other way. So the money, according to the auditor, the whistleblower, came through the consulting firm. So a partner in the consulting firm and a partner in the audit firm worked together to ensure, believe it or not, that 20 crore rupees was an annual target of income from IL&FS as a group to Deloitte as a group. This is what the whistleblower tells us. If that weren't enough, Deloitte appointed a senior tax advisor. Now you may wonder whether the whistleblower has named names. Yes, there are 3 names mentioned here. The 2 partners, the consulting firm and the audit firm, have been named, and the senior tax advisor, who he says was specifically hired in order to help enhance business and to hide things for IL&FS. These were hired at IL&FS's insistence. Why am I not naming names? Because honestly, that is not the job of a journalist. That has to be done by the management team, which is getting paid a fat fee by the government to do this job. It has to be done by SFIO, and it has to be done by the Enforcement Directorate. Let them do some work on it. Let them reveal the names. Let them act. In fact, my big question all the time is, are they going to act? So now what did this tax advisor do? According to the whistleblower, the roundtripping that was discovered in the forensic audit was known for at least 3 or 4 years. But Deloitte apparently even found ways and companies and partners through which they're going to route this money in order to hide the roundtripping from an ordinary audit report. Instead of finding it, they were helping hide things. How much more shocking can it get? So, like I said, the financial benefits were varied as compensation. It was agreed that the group was getting remunerated as a group. Apart from the consulting, they also did some studies. So he mentions one particular study, which is called the Strategy Study for Diversification. He also says Deloitte charged a very large sum of fees to recommend creating more complex financial services businesses and grow its already stressed books. So, the kind of loss that we're going to possibly face because this group with outstanding debt of almost 1 lakh crore is on the verge of collapse. It is estimated that the loss to banking institutions and unsecured creditors and others would be a minimum of 30,000 crore. This is what a failed auditor who does not do his job, a dog that does not bark, this is the kind of loss they inflict on the nation, and this is something that we need to worry about. Because according to me, all investment that we make, we don't run companies, we don't know what is happening, but we invest in debt, we invest in equity. In case of IL&FS, our pension money was invested through pension funds into IL&FS. All of these people who are making investment decisions operate on the basis that the checks and balances in the system will work. So an auditor, a statutory auditor, will do his job, a rating agency will do its job, and a regulator like the Reserve Bank of India, which inspects these, what IL&FS was called a systemically important non-banking finance company, is doing a thorough inspection based on which there was a AAA rating and based on which our investments were made. We, the ordinary people who work very hard for our money, we depend on this. If these systems did not work and they all failed, then how is it any different from a casino or a lottery? We are not investing, we are not taking a wild punt when we go to the market. We are taking a considered decision based on research. Now it turns out that if everybody responsible for those checks and balances is on the take and is on the other side, then every investment decision that we make is going to be a lottery, and you don't know what you're going to live on after having worked and saved all your life. So the system has to work. Otherwise, having 5 financial regulators for the financial market makes no sense whatsoever. So I would urge you as an individual, if you're watching this video, you are apparently a taxpayer also, I would urge you to stand up and demand action. Like I said, it's a week since I sent out this letter. There is no response. But hey, hold on, there's a response from Deloitte. Predictably, I sent the letter not only to the Deloitte India office, but I also sent it to the international office, which in turn has passed it on to the local people. And here's what they have to say. So I'm going to read it out in the interest of fairness. So Deloitte, like I said, its non-performance has been caught out by Project Icarus and Grant Thornton. There is an interim report by the ICAI, which is the regulator for audit firms. Yet, here's what Deloitte says. Deloitte strongly disagrees with the issues raised in your mail, and these seem to be an attempt to malign the reputation of the firm. The statements made are incorrect and misleading. As you are aware, there are ongoing investigations by regulators and agencies. Further, given our responsibility to maintain client confidentiality, we are regrettably constrained from providing you with the information that you have sought. I asked all the questions. They say, however, we wish to emphasize that our work has been conducted in accordance with prescribed standards and regulations. And what has the whistleblower said in his letter? He says over the last few months, there's a major exercise going on internally to hide a lot of things that would trace Deloitte's role in the fudging of IL&FS books. So he has 3 suggestions of what regulators need to do. So one, he says, check the internal mails of select people who are in charge. Check also their e-calendars, which are difficult to wipe out because many of the meetings with senior management were not minuted, and so there were no records. But if you look at the e-calendar, maybe a regulator or investigative agency would be able to ask the right questions. The second thing they say is confirm internal revenue targets for fees earned. I'm sure that will be a little difficult, but I'm sure an investigator can find records. Check non-audit and consulting fees billed by Deloitte as a group to IL&FS as a group. Easy enough to do if people are serious about getting at the truth. And it says question audit team members who dealt with IL&FS. As I said, this whistleblower seems to be one of them. I don't know who he is. Anonymous, maybe a she for all you know. And he is willing to answer. He wants to be asked questions officially so that he can provide answers. So here we are with this biggest ever financial scandal. 1 lakh crore is a lot of money. People want to give information, but the investigation is proceeding so slowly. What is certain about it is there's a huge loss, 30,000 crore at the least, which, let me tell you, is at least 3 times what we're expecting from Vijay Mallya. So let's see the agencies make some effort. Let's see some action, and let us, you and me, demand this action. Thank you.